President Donald J. Trump recently announced the possibility of new stimulus checks for millions of Americans, and we finally have some crucial details to share with you. A number of Americans were asking that what about the details? Are we going to get this check? And if yes, then when these checks are coming? What about the amount of these checks? And under these circumstances that we are living in right now, and we are talking about low and middle class income Americans, are we going to be eligible for this check? Look at this. Our $600 tariff rebate checks headed our way, and here's how we use the extra cash. Well, this is important because $600 might be a small amount for a number of Americans, but for millions and millions of struggling Americans, this is not less than a lifeline. I'm gonna give you each and every detail, but all I need is just a little favor. It takes 2 seconds to please smash the like button on this video. So without any further ado, let's start the video. So let's start the video with this new stimulus check that President Donald J. Trump recently announced when he was talking to the media. And right after a few days of that very important talk, Josh Hawley introduced this new legislation that will give billions of dollars to millions of Americans. And we are specifically talking about the $600 stimulus rebate or stimulus tariff rebate checks to Americans. And some of the very important details are finally out, and you need to understand that Americans could get up to $2,400, but it could go up, means a family of 6 can also get $3,600 under this new stimulus legislation. Look at this. Our $600 tariff rebate checks headed our way. Here's how we use the extra cash. When it comes to the details, the proposed American Worker Rebate Act could put $2,400 into the pocket of a family of 4, and this is a great news because you need to understand that millions of Americans are struggling right now and they need some sort of support as soon as possible. And when President Donald J. Trump talked about the possibility of these new stimulus tariff rebate checks to Americans were really happy. But now they're asking only one question: when are we going to get this check? Well, the details are indeed very important when it comes to this $600 stimulus rebate checks to Americans, and there are some crucial things that you need to know. First thing first, that if you are an individual and making $75,000 and less, then you are going to be eligible for this $600 check. If you have a kid who's under the age of 18, then he's also going to get this $600 worth of stimulus rebate check. And if you are a couple, then you are going to get $1,200 worth of stimulus rebate check. But you need to understand, you will get this full check if you make $150,000 and less. And if you're an individual and making $75,000 and up, then there will be a 5% reduction in this $600 check. And if you are a couple making $150,000 and up, then there will be a 5% deduction as well. But one thing is very important right here that no one is talking about, that when these checks are coming to Americans, now there are 3 hurdles that this new legislation, also known as Worker Rebate Act, will need to pass. The first one is that it will go through a debate. Yes, Josh Hawley introduced this new act, and it's a great step for the well-being of millions and millions of Americans. But first, there'll be a committee which will debate on this act, and after the debate, there'll be a voting, of course, in Congress, such as in House and in Senate. And after that voting, if it gets approved from there, then it will go to President Donald J. Trump, and this is the third hurdle, that President Donald J. Trump will sign it or not. But a number of analysts and experts are saying that President Donald J. Trump will certainly sign on this bill because he himself is the person who introduced or announced this new stimulus rebate check idea. But now it seems like it's becoming a reality. But you need to understand that a number of Americans, including lawmakers, are also debating that this check should be higher. Right now, millions and millions of Americans are struggling, and when it comes to this stimulus rebate check, Americans deserve more money. If you've been following, just a couple of days ago, President Donald J. Trump tweeted that America is receiving billions and billions of dollars from these reciprocal tariffs. It's midnight. Congratulations, Americans. And yes, it is true that billions of dollars are pouring into the American economy because of these tariffs, but a number of analysts are debating and they are contradicting this statement that no, American importers are paying these tariffs, so the money that US is receiving is actually American money. Well, this is a separate debate, but you need to understand that Americans need some sort of support, and it doesn't matter that where this support is coming from. Now, going back towards that very important debate that a number of lawmakers, analysts, and experts are having, and they're saying that this check should be higher and it should be about $2,000 for Americans, which is indeed something that we should talk about. And the reason is simple, that during the pandemic, millions of Americans received a $2,000 worth of stimulus check. It proved to be a lifeline because Americans did not spend that money on stocks or bonds. They simply bought groceries, they simply paid their rent with it, so they invested that amount back into the American economy. So now you need to understand that if President Donald J. Trump and this administration approves this new act of $600 to every American or $1,200 to each couple, this is going to be spent right in the heart of American economy. But a $2,000 would be more powerful Americans, because remember that according to the recent report from Gallup, the prices of groceries are up by 21% in the past 3 years. The rent prices are up by 17%, and this is quite a shocker. In one of the very important comments that we have read on our video, it says that just 3 years ago, I added 5 things into my cart and the total was $68. And now after 3 years, when I added those things back into the cart, the total came out as $115. So can you imagine the inflation right now? But on paper, everything looks great. But you need to understand that even the inflation number on papers doesn't look good. Why? Because in the whole 2024, the inflation was up by 2.5%, and this year, just in June alone, the inflation went up by 2.7%, which is quite a shocker for millions of Americans who are already struggling. They're unable to pay their rent, they're unable to pay their mortgage, they're unable to pay their utilities, and they are unable to put 3 meals a day for themselves and their loved ones. Now it's almost impossible for a number, or you can say millions of Americans, to apply for food stamps because of these new rules that this administration implemented. And at the same time, Medicaid and Medicare is also very difficult to get right now because these new rules are simply restricting Americans to apply for these benefits. I'll see you in the next video very soon. Till then, please take care and have a nice day.